My nickname is Lady Sunshine, and many years ago, oh my God, in like 1991, when my former husband Steve and I were together, we were at an Italian restaurant of all places in Portland, Oregon, and it was one of those places where you could write on the table with crayons, and he wrote, "You are my sunshine." We'd just gotten together, and Lady Sunshine just became me, and so I became Lady Sun or Lady Sunshine for I've been that way since like 1991, 90, something like that. So yeah. So my former husband, who's an amazing man, we're not married anymore, but he's still a great guy. He's the one that gave me the nickname. Bodacious, switch, greedy. My best quality is that I have a big heart, and I give a lot, and sometimes that can be my worst flaw too, because I give too much. My worst flaw is I can be really, really messy, and I get a little lazy and not clean up after myself. Absolutely comes together. I'm an advocate of the sex positive community. I've been involved with it for years. I cannot imagine sex and BDSM separate from. As a friend of mine used to say, if it gets your dick hard or your pussy wet, it's about sex. And so for me, it's always been about sex. BDSM and food. Okay, so I've owned two restaurants and I've got 27 years in the restaurant business. And my favorite food on the whole planet is bacon. That have you ever seen a picture of a trussed up pig? They're all tied up and they got a gag or an apple in their mouth, that whole bit. Pig, pig and pig and BDSM go really good together, and especially bacon. Yes, I do love listening to music during sessions. I actually like blues and jazz. I'm an old lady, and especially jazzy stuff gets me kind of in the mood for the playing people with my fingers, and blues just gets my heart going. There's so many things that the BDSM community could give to the world. Um, Consent is something that I think that even though we don't there are people in our communities that screw it up. Consent is something that is way more conscious, I think, in our community than probably any other community, because what we do requires conscious consent. And the other thing it can is it can give consciousness to the world. When you're in the BDSM world, you have to be really conscious. You have to be aware. And the masses out there, the world out there, sometimes walks through the world very unconscious. So I think that consent and consciousness are probably the two biggest things. Yes, I think it is. There's a lot of conversation about how it's better if we would have stayed outlaws. I think that for me, the biggest reason is that there's a whole lot of people out there who are kinky and haven't gotten permission to be kinky. And even the stupid stuff like 50 Shades of Grey, which uh, it still gave people permission. It gave them an opportunity to look at themselves and go, "Wow, I can relate to that." And I think legitimatizing BDSM gives people access to something that's really real about themselves. They just haven't realized it yet until they saw it on a movie or read it in a book. So take it slow. Don't try to do everything all at once. That's one thing I know. I made a lot of mistakes when I first came in because I tried to rush in and just dove head first, and I ended up putting myself in danger, putting not doing things the way I should have. So take it slow and find community. So I've been doing this for since 1990. Well, I'm doing it longer than that, but officially in the community since 1990. So that's a long time. So I bring a lot of history, but I also I'm one of the founders of the Center for Sex Positive Culture, and one of the things that I can bring to other people is to talk about how we created an organization that has lasted as long as it has and has been influential in a lot of areas. And I can also tell them all the mistakes that you can make. So I could help people that are looking to be community organizers, that are working at creating community, because I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and I think we've done a lot of good too. So I bring a lot of that, and also I come from a position of a switch, which means that I can talk about a little bit of everything. I'm an educated old broad, so I could tell you so many that it's not, I mean, like there's the paper cut scene and there's the, okay, so this is my favorite one. It takes a little bit of setup, but this is my favorite one. Um, this was actually happened while I was going through breast cancer, and this amazing man decided to court me while I'm feeling very unattractive and stuff. So we go on our very first date, and we're having this great conversation. And he says, I went to Barnum and Bailey Clown School. And I went, oh, I don't like clowns. That could be a deal breaker in our relationship. He goes, this is our first date. And I said, I don't like clowns. But I forgot to say that they were a hard limit. So flash forward about 7 months later, we're getting ready to go play. We're at his place. And he's like, let's go downstairs. And he says, you got to pick 2 new safe words, make them funny because we're going to have fun tonight. And I said, okay. I said, my yellow will be funny bone and my red will be clown car. And he choked on the drink he was drinking, but I didn't think anything of it. And then we go downstairs to his playroom and he blindfolds me and he ties me up and he goes, I got about 10 more minutes of setup, so just relax, put some music on. And he comes back and we proceed to have this amazing scene and he's beating on me and he's fucking me, doing all this stuff. Rolls me on my back and he says, okay, now I'm going to take the blindfold off, but keep your eyes closed. And I said, okay. And I'm a good girl when I have to be. And so I'm like, okay. And we're having this really great sex. And he says, now tell me when you're ready to come. And I said, okay. And all of a sudden, okay, I'm ready to come. And he says, okay, open your eyes. And he pulls in close. And there's a fucking clown fucking me. And I punched him and screamed at him and then squirted all over the place. So that was the funniest thing that I've ever had happen sex-wise. Education is important. People need to know how to be safe and how to walk our kinky world. And yeah, I think that even if it is really personal, teaching people good sexuality, whether it's vanilla sex, tantric sex, or BDSM sex, I think is really important. I'm a big educator. Um, a couple things. One of them is, like I said, I'm in my 60s. I like to bring the fact that BDSM is for everybody, all ages, and that just because we get older doesn't mean we stop. And I think that's important. I also, as you can tell, I'm kind of silly. I believe that bringing a sense of humor to what we do, because some people are too serious. Now it's like, oh, and I'm not. So I spend most of my time laughing, and I think that bringing a sense of humor to what we do is really an important contribution. The reasons: I'm engaging, I'm funny, back to the sense of humor. I've been doing it a long time, and one of the things that I do in my workshops is that I create a dialogue. I'm not a pontificator. I don't set up and say this is how it should be done. I get people to interact. Even my discussion ones that have no play involved or anything, I get feedback from them and talk and make it a discussion, because I don't believe that we can learn by pontificating. I believe we learn by having communication and discussion back and forth. And I think that's a big benefit to my workshops, is that I get people involved and I always learn something new from every workshop that I teach. Well, gender equality. I've been a feminist since I was since the 70s, since late 60s, early 70s, and a sex positive feminist, even through all the weirdness of feminism. So, so equality is really important when it comes to gender in a larger sense. I have several trans partners. I've taken the time to get to know I work with the trans community here in Seattle. I am a huge advocate of creating consent workshops and taking consent information outside of even our community. And in Seattle, we started a thing called the Consent Academy, and it came out of the Foundation for Sex Positive Culture, which I'm one of the founders of also. And I actually am a big advocate in taking that out, even outside of our own community, but teaching classes about consent. I talk about consent at most every workshop I teach. It's kind of a starting point as we talk about it. I would bring Edgar Allan Poe. He's like my favorite writer from all times. In fact, one of the few hardcover books I'm bringing with me to Cyprus is the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. But yeah, I think he could teach a lot of people weird stuff. Yeah. I have never been really good. I'm still learning about rope, even though after all these years I've been playing with some of the top rope players in the world, but I've never done that much of it. I'm doing more topping, so more top related workshops would probably be the thing that I'm definitely touching more into my dominant side over the last few years. And also, I love really weird, quirky medical play. So if anybody has anything new that I haven't tried, I definitely want to go do that. Yeah. Hoping maybe to still be in Europe. But if not, I used to have a kinky cafe in Seattle. I want another kinky cafe with a dungeon in the basement. But I still picture myself traveling around and teaching, even at 70. I'll be 74 in 10 years. So I will still be traveling around and teaching and educating everybody. That's what I couldn't stop doing it.